Hey, good afternoon everybody. This is Steve. Welcome to the Little Wood Shop and our Sunday evening blog. Well, we told you with the shout out here on, I think it was Thursday, what we had coming up. We're going to do the second half of the CNC fabricated taxidermy plaques. In this case, this is a state plaque that was commissioned through our shop. And as part of a special treat, that's what this Sunday's blog is going to be about, is how to do your own European skull. Okay? Now, before we continue on with any more conversation, the one thing I'm going to insist on is if you don't know the laws in your state, I can only speak for my own home state of New Hampshire, call your local conservation office, speak to either an officer or a warden, however they're addressed in their career field in your state, and inquire what it is to do this in your state at a hobbyist level, okay? New Hampshire's laws are, so long as I am not doing this for any financial gain, and I'm doing it strictly as a hobby, which is basically this is a hobby / tutorial for all of you to enjoy and get a little something out of. I do not need to carry a taxidermy license, okay? I got out of this career a few years ago and it is what it is, but I thought that this would really be a cool tutorial, especially for some of you. I know money's still tight for a lot of folks, and you know, it'd be nice if you took your little one out, maybe your little girl or your little wee lad there, you took them out hunting and they shot a buck, and maybe you ain't really got the money, the hundreds of dollars to do a mount for them. Well, this is the alternative, okay? So there's my disclaimer. Alrighty, so for the synthetics, you have your choice between this type of skull with the pedestals, or you can get one with a slot. Now, the reason I went with this is obviously these are good-sized horns. If your little fellow or maybe your little miss went out and got a spike horn or maybe a small little fork horn, whatever, four-pointer, the horns aren't going to be big enough to cover these. Okay? You'd have the slot. You would cut out the skull cap, much like you would here. You cut the back off. You keep working it, fitting it in and out, and you'd sculpt it, okay? There's a ton of videos online for this stuff. I'm not going to get into it. What we're here to do is teach you how to use an artificial today. So, with that being said, the first thing you're going to want to do is, if in the event you are going to use this, you're going to take and you're going to measure the bases. You know, put a tape measure on the bottom of your horns, okay? These are roughly, an inch and a half. You can go in the catalogs and you can look at what the diameters are on the pedestals of the artificials. Match them up. Okay? It's that simple. Now, once we have this done, I like to put this on a plaque because it's going to give me a better point of reference. Now, turn this just a little bit. You see a lot of videos where guys will burn these on grinders to get them flat, which that's fine. Well, in this case, I think you might be able to see it. We've got a flat spot, and we go up at like a 45-degree angle. Well, I don't want to cut or burn that off on a grinder because it's going to louse up, you know, my piece that I'm trying to do. I am going to basically fit this, and this one is already fitted, by the way. I'm going to fit this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep working it until I get the angle about that I want. Now, the other thing I will advise is take some measurements. Two things any taxidermist is going to tell you is proper measurements and reference material, okay? I've done enough of these over the years that I've got the reference in my head. I've got pictures. If the client, most everybody takes a picture today of their animal, have them forward you those pictures, print them out, have them where you can see them, okay? Clip them on the panel. You're trying to mimic what was harvested, okay? Well, what I do is I basically get my angles correct, okay? Now, I have got this one fitting like a glove. Once I have it fitted, on the back side, and I told you we're going to include some stills, I'll highlight with a pencil the area of where I exactly want this. What I do from there, alright, is I've got two Dremels set up here. I've got one on a whip, and what it's got a small little, like an 1/8 or probably a 3/16 inch cutting ball. The other thing I'm going to suggest, wear a dust mask, all right? Wear a dust mask, for goodness sakes. It's bone dust coming off this thing. I will sit here, okay, and I will work this. I'm going to follow my pencil marks where I drew on the underside of the pedicule, and I'm going to work that. You're going to have high and low spots. Just keep working them down. Keep fitting it. Oh, I need a little bit more. Well, you may grind your pencil mark off. Remake a pencil mark. Maybe one side's back. Maybe one side's too forward. Keep working it. Okay? Just keep working it back and forth, back and forth. Eventually, you are going to get this thing to sit really, really nice, which is the case with this one. This is kind of like it's kind of like my end mill, if you would. I use this to hog out the bulk of the material, and then what I've got over here, I've got another old Dremel. I've got like a sharpening stone with a completely flat bottom. What I'll do is I'll go across the base of the horn and I'll smooth it right down. Like I said, I'll get some still pictures in here, and then we'll put them in a timeline, step by step. But I basically will work both my horns this way, back and forth, back and forth. Now, I took the measurements. I take my measurements, and I know that from my first brow tine, I was 3 inches, okay? I know that from my G4s to my other, I was 11 inches. I'm going to try to copy that spread. Now, you're not using the exact same skull cap. Not everything's going to line up. The point being is, you don't want to, if you go a half an inch either way, the client really, or you're not going to notice it that well, However, if you spread this from 3 to 5 inches and your rack goes from 11 to 15, yeah, it's going to be a big difference off the original harvested animal. So, what we're going to do is I'm going to pause this video throughout. We're going to edit and piece it, okay? I've got another one. I've got another antler over here to basically work down to get just like this one. And then once we have them together, we're going to need to drill the holes for the rod stock. Now, sometimes these are going to be way too long, and I can already tell you right now that, yeah, that's way too long. And if I follow that, it would actually, the hole would come out right above this, right to the side of this other tine. So, I'll end up drilling these down in a little bit deeper, because they only seem to ever go like a half, 5/8 of an inch. You got plenty of skull to go down into here. So we're going to put these a little bit deeper. We're going to drill our holes out on these. And like I said, we'll mark everything up. And once we have them fitted, we'll commence the video again, okay? But for now, this is how I particularly do it. Like I said, I am not, the authority on this. This is just one way of many. Again, there are a lot of incredible artists out there. Hey everyone, we're back. Alright, well, where we left off, I told you I was going to basically work this and get it to the point of where we are ready to go with it. Now, what I've done thus far, when we left off, I told you I was going to drill these out a little deeper. And I did, in fact. Now, what I do is, this is a 250 by 250 thousandths piece of square bar stock. It's just steel. I end up drilling them a little bit deeper. And I drill it just, I think from corner to corner it's 350 thousandths. So I make sure that these go in just a little snug. I don't want to drill the holes so small that I got to beat them in and risk cracking the skull, but there's no way you're not pulling these out with your hands, okay? It's just not going to happen. But before we do that, I'll just roughly set them in there, alright? I get the angle of approximately where the center of the hole is, okay? Just like that. I should probably use something better than painter's tape. Okay, there we are. And what I'll do is I'll affix my antler without the post being in there. I'll get it into the position that I want it, alright? and then I'll roll my tape. I'll roll my tape right up over it after I have it placed where I want it. Now I can also tell you that an extra set of hands right now it's a godsend. All right. Now what I've basically done is, if you look down, the hole's already in. I'm going to follow that with my drill. Now, granted, technically I only need about a 350 thousandths hole. However, to get that angle exact every single time so that it's going to lay perfectly, it's kind of like winning the lottery in my opinion. You can only go so deep as well. Well, once you've got your tape and your angle here, I'll figure out with the drill bit about just how far I can go in. Now, I do not recommend you try to max this out. Do not just hold it, go in there blindly, because yes, this fool has come out an antler on the other end and into his hand, and yeah, it's too colorful a language for this video. And when I do go in with my bits, I don't try to hog out one single 300 thousandths hole. If in the event your drill bites, it's never happened to me. The worst I've done is come out the side. I've had to do a light repair and I put a bit in my hand. But I've seen or heard of guys going in, it winds up, and then it cracks and breaks a piece of the antler off. For goodness sakes, you don't want to do that. But this way, with a little piece of tape for reference, make your marks underneath when you've got everything where you want it. Make your mark. And then just fold your tape over from the center of the pedicule, fold it over, and then follow it with a drill. And then once you get your depth, I put a little piece of tape around my bit, old school machinist thing, you know, back in the day. So I know that way there I'm not going to blow through and come out or put a drill bit in my hand. All right, now with that being said, we do this for both sides. We get both of the antlers done. Now the one thing I told you is we take measurements. I've got them written here for the widest point and the narrowest point. Now, my two brow tines, and I'll get these set in place roughly. The two brow tines right here, if I go back to my reference marks on both sides, okay, and I squeeze them together, have your tape measure. Now this is the other thing. This is the other reason taxidermists should make so much money. Half the time they gotta figure out how to do this stuff alone. Okay, I'm like 10 3/8. 11 was my original spread. Now, I was also 3 1/4 from inside to inside. Well now, I don't want to imagine what this tape has been. Now I'm like 4, okay? I gain. Now here's why. I'm going to take these off. If I hold, and I don't know if you can see this or not, when I hold the old skull cap up, we'll use my file as the sander. I can see that from here to the center, I've already gained an inch. Sometimes these things are a little bit out of control. You got to kind of, when you go to order your skulls, your artificial skulls, you got to kind of cheat the best of both worlds. Doesn't do you any good if you get your optics dead center, but they're 3/8 of an inch too big or too small. You've got to kind of take the best of everything between your lengths, your widths, your pedicles, diameters, you know, and what you have to work with off the measurements you originally took from the specimen before you cut the antlers off the skull plate. You just got to find a happy medium. Now I'm fortunate, I know this client, well, I know my buddy very well of course, but it is sometimes hard to mimic the exact same thing. And because this is basically a tutorial for you guys, and I don't practice this anymore. You know, hey everyone, we're back. All right, so yesterday I think we left off with the poster in here permanently. You can't even pull these out if you tried. We talked about going up in slow steps with your drills. Don't try to yard the biggest one through that you can. Keep an eye on your angles, masking tape or a piece of tape so you can get your antler transferred, the angle transferred over on your antler. All right, well, what we're going to do, And I'm not going to make you sit through me mixing up. This is PC7. I really like this a lot. It is very, very strong stuff. But please, if in doubt, and you've checked your antlers 10 times, check them 20. So you're in doubt, keep checking them, okay? Take your pencil, make your mark on the bottom of your base, make a mark on the side of your pedicule where you want everything to line up. Mix up your epoxy. We're going to fill the antlers. I'm not going to go so crazy with it though that it comes oozing out of the bottom. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take, if you don't want a Dremel, which is fine, even a small drill, and I'm going to put some holes around the base of the antler, just small ones. I'm going to put some in by the 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch bar here, so that when the ooze goes everywhere, I'm going to also have it fill the holes. So it's old school, but it's always worked for me and it's never failed. And that will pretty much be it. I'm going to take, once these are on, once I've got them all on, I've got them, like I said, exactly where I want them, I'm going to take and I'm going to secure these. And now I'm going to take pictures of all this. You guys are going to get stills. I'll probably zip tie around the antlers. We'll tape them so that they can't fall forward. We're gonna secure them. I'll come up with some type of concoction. I always have. Now, remember again, as you're drilling this stuff out, you're working with a Dremel or a sander or whatever, put on a dust mask, because inside the shop, when I was doing all this grinding, I mean, it smelled like a dentist office. It just smelled like burnt teeth, and yeah, it's awful. So, well, and don't do that inside either, like boiling the skulls. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video again tomorrow. I'll get you pictures underneath of the ooze and whatnot. Anything excess that comes out, do your best to clean it off, but don't get it on the skull. All right. And what we'll do tomorrow is we'll talk about how we're going to refinish, lightly airbrush this. The plaque is just going to get airbrushed in black, and the excess overspray will get sanded off, and that's going to pretty much be that. And like I said, the still pictures it'll show you guys how I secure this stuff all crazy. All right, so you hang on. We will be back one last time, and like I said, all this has to be edited. But again, thank you so much for following us, and I hope this gives you a little something, so that the next time you are in the woods with your little ones, or yourself, or your dad, or whatever, hey, this helps you to build your own European Mount. Okay, all right. We'll let you go for now, and we'll be back again. All right, everyone. Well, we're back. As I told you in our shout out this week, I survived the plague over the weekend, otherwise known as the flu. I told you we weren't going to go into detail as far as me packing the antlers. I did go with PC7. Very, very strong stuff. And what I really didn't notice about this is, until I looked it up on the website, this doesn't fully cure for 24 hours, and it's still flexible and maneuverable like 4 hours later. So you've got a lot of work time with this, alrighty? Okie dokie. All we did was we did one antler at a time. I had my beloved wife up here giving me a hand, and when I got one antler exactly where I wanted it, I took a roll of just masking tape. You could use black electrical. I made a couple wraps around the antler. I dragged it and I taped it to the back of the panel. That gave us support. That's why you see all this tape in here. We're going to kind of take this apart. Last item first item last. Last thing I put in was just this brace. It looks like a cross. All right, and what we did is, in no way did we jam anything up there. We lightly set a horizontal stick in place. I set the stick in place, I held it, and I just through-screwed it. It was basically for if any of the tape going from each antler on the back side of the plaque let go, the antlers wouldn't, they wouldn't roll out of position. And then, but I also came up here every half hour, and I checked on things. That's back when I was realizing I was getting sick too. Now this has been setting up for this is fully cured by now, but okay. Remove your tape. Use scissors. Don't just yard and pull things off. I think Granny in the day would have called it bull in the china shop there. Okay. Very carefully slide this out. It's actually just going to fall out on its own. All right. I put a piece of tape across the base because I wanted to keep the skull kind of as vertical as I could. but I didn't want it to slide back and forth in any event. Okay, so we'll get that off. The next thing I did was I told you I was going to use a zip tie between each one of the brow tines. Well, I ended up, it just kept sliding off. So I just ended up going with some masking tape. That did the job just fine. Okay. We'll cut this here. We'll clean the rest of it off as we need. Alrighty. Now, there we go. Oh. Peel from the back, and then just peel it right back around the antlers. The tag, whether it's yours, or if you decide to do this as a side income, always leave the tag on the antlers. It's it'll be a registration, it's proof of legitimate harvest, which it most certainly is. Okay, here we go. Basically, the tape and everything just added the support that we needed, that I needed, so that I wouldn't lose any sleep, that I don't get much of now. Let me come over here, excuse me for a minute. And this is basically it. Now, we have not finished this yet. We're going to do another small clip on the finishing of this, and then the reassembly. So, I really do appreciate everybody holding on, but there's a lot to this, you know. It's for somebody who's done it for a while, yeah, you can bang these out pretty quickly, as I told you. My whole theory of me being able to do this in an hour, well, we can flush that down the toilet, because, yeah, I've been out of it for a little while. This took me a couple of hours, and then in between shooting the video, you get the idea, but I really tried to cover as much of the steps as I could to make it as easy as I could for all of you, alright? Well, basically, the last thing I'll do, and there's just one single drywall screw in the back, as I told you in the cap of this is a solid wooden block. It's like you took a piece of 2x3, nipped it off the end, and they fit it up inside of here. Alright, now these are on, oh yeah, they're good and tight. They're not going anywhere. Our spread, we measured that real quick, should not have moved. No, I'm 10 1/4. And I told you here I'm going to be about 4, because we told you in the beginning that I'm 4, a little stronger than 4. But because the pedicules didn't line up to the original skull plate. Alright, so those are just some of the things that you got to work around when ordering these skulls. But all in all, this is a pretty decent mount. What we're going to do in our last shot, we're going to show you how to finish off. Because right now, you probably can't see it in the camera, but there was a little bit of black ooze from the PC7 that came out. As it dried, I took you can use a piece of a popsicle stick, let it set up. Do not try to drag your fingers and wipe it off, because what you're going to end up doing is smearing it. It can get semi-stiff, and you could always take a small razor blade or something, and you can trim right around the base of the horn, grab it with tweezers, and peel it off. Just let it kick and set up a little bit, alright? But aside from that, there really isn't much to making these. Granted, I gave you a lot of information and a lot of video to look at, I realize that, but hopefully this is going to work out good for you guys. And the last part of this we'll show you will be the finishing, alright? Well, you hang on, as always, we'll be back. Alright, thanks everybody.